National Electrical Code, or NEC, Section 334.15c addresses the requirements for supporting non-metallic sheet cable, commonly known as Romex, in unfinished basements. Romex must be supported at intervals not exceeding 4.5 feet, or 1.37 meters. The cables must be fastened with staples, straps, or other approved means. In a situation where a basement has a finished portion transitioning to an unfinished portion, the NEC requirements apply to both areas. For the finished portion, the NEC does not specify alternative support requirements. Therefore, the 4.5-foot spacing between supports remains applicable. If Romex is stapled to the bottom of the joist without intermediate supports, it is not supported according to NEC specifications. In the unfinished portion of the basement, the same NEC requirement of 4.5-foot spacing applies. If Romex is run through drilled holes in the joists, this complies with the code, provided the spacing between the holes does not exceed 4.5 feet. To ensure compliance and safety, consider these recommendations. Firstly, in the finished portion, add intermediate supports to the Romex runs, using staples or straps at intervals not exceeding 4.5 feet. Secondly, the Romex runs in the unfinished portion should be compliant if they are run through the bored holes. Ensure that they are protected from physical damage in the future. Additional considerations should be taken into account. Firstly, ensure that the Romex cables are not exposed to sharp edges or other potential hazards that could damage the insulation. Secondly, consider using cable protectors or sleeves to protect the cables where they transition from the finished to unfinished portions of the basement. Thirdly, it is essential to have all electrical work inspected and approved by a qualified electrician before energizing the circuits. This helps ensure that the installation meets all applicable codes and safety standards. Regarding specific NEC sections, Article 334 covers non-metallic sheet cable types NN, NMC, and NMS. Section 334.30 specifically addresses securing and supporting these cables. It states that non-metallic sheet cable must be secured by staples, cable ties, straps, hangers, or similar fittings designed and installed so as not to damage the cable. Furthermore, cables must be secured within 12 inches of boxes, cabinets, fittings, and other cable terminations. For horizontal runs through bored holes or notches in framing members, the cable is considered supported, provided the spacing between supports does not exceed 4.5 feet. When cables run parallel to framing members, they should be secured every 4.5 feet. In situations where the cable is fished between access points, securing is not required, provided compliance with other requirements of Article 334 is maintained. It's important to note that while running cables through bored holes can provide support, the holes must be drilled in such a way that the integrity of the structural members is not compromised. Consult local building codes and structural guidelines for proper hole sizing and placement. Moreover, when passing cables through metal framing members, use grommets or other approved means to protect the cable from abrasion. In damp or wet locations, use cable types and installation methods approved for those environments, as specified in NEC Article 334. When transitioning from one type of environment to another, such as from a dry interior to a damp basement, ensure the cable and connections are suitable for the more severe environment. It is also good practice to label circuits clearly at the electrical panel, indicating which areas of the basement they serve. This aids in future troubleshooting and maintenance. When working with electrical systems, always to energize the circuit before performing any work. Use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as insulated gloves and safety glasses. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to perform the work. Changes to the NEC occur every 3 years, so it is important to stay up to date with the latest edition to ensure compliance. Local jurisdictions may also have additional requirements or amendments to the NEC, so it is important to check with the local building department. Always refer to the specific requirements of the NEC and local codes for detailed guidance on electrical installations. This information is intended for educational purposes and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Electrical work should be performed by qualified individuals who are familiar with applicable codes and safety practices. For additional information, consult the NEC handbook, which provides explanations and examples to clarify the code requirements. The NEC also addresses the protection of cables from physical damage. In unfinished basements, where cables are exposed, they may be subject to physical damage. To address this, NEC Section 334.15b specifies requirements for protection from physical damage. Where cables are run at an angle to the joists in unfinished basements and are not attached to the bottom of the joists, they must be protected by running boards. Cables installed less than 8 feet above the floor must also be protected. These protective measures help prevent damage from accidental impacts or contact. Furthermore, consider the ampacity of the conductors when selecting the appropriate cable size. NEC Table 310.16 provides ampacity ratings for various conductor sizes and insulation types. Ensure that the cable is rated to carry the intended load of the circuit. When installing cables, avoid sharp bends that could damage the insulation. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations for minimum bending radius. Secure cables properly to prevent them from sagging or becoming loose over time. Use appropriate staples or straps that are designed for use with non-metallic sheath cable. Avoid over-tightening the fasteners, as this could damage the cable. When routing cables through walls or ceilings, use approved wiring methods to maintain fire resistance. Seal any openings around the cables to prevent the spread of fire and smoke. Consider the potential for future modifications or additions to the electrical system. Leave sufficient slack in the cables to allow for future connections or changes. Document the cable routes and locations for future reference. This can be helpful when troubleshooting or making modifications to the system. Always follow safe electrical practices and adhere to the NEC and local codes. If you are unsure about any aspect of the installation, consult a qualified electrician. Regular inspections of the electrical system can help identify potential problems and ensure continued safety and compliance. Pay attention to any signs of damage, such as frayed insulation or loose connections. Address any issues promptly to prevent electrical hazards. When making any changes or additions to the electrical system, obtain the necessary permits and inspections from the local building department. This ensures that the work is performed in accordance with applicable codes and safety standards. The NEC also addresses the use of boxes and enclosures for electrical connections and terminations. Use approved boxes and enclosures that are appropriate for the environment and the intended use. Ensure that all connections are made properly and securely. Protect boxes and enclosures from physical damage. When installing recessed lighting fixtures, follow the manufacturer's instructions and the requirements of NEC Article 410. Ensure that the fixtures are properly grounded and that the wiring is protected from heat. Consider the use of energy-efficient lighting options, such as LED fixtures, to reduce energy consumption and save money. Install ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection for receptacles in damp or wet locations, such as bathrooms and kitchens. GFCIs protect against electrical shock by detecting ground faults and interrupting the circuit. Test GFCIs regularly to ensure that they are functioning properly. Use arc fault circuit interrupter, or ASI, protection for circuits that serve bedrooms and other living areas. ASIs protect against electrical fires by detecting arc faults and interrupting the circuit. When working with aluminum wiring, use connectors and devices that are specifically designed for use with aluminum. Aluminum wiring requires special handling to prevent corrosion and ensure reliable connections. Consider the use of surge protection devices to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage surges. Surge protection devices can help prevent damage to computers, televisions, and other electronic devices. Install smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in accordance with local codes and the manufacturer's instructions. Test the detectors regularly to ensure that they are functioning properly. Develop an emergency plan in case of an electrical fire or other electrical hazard. Know how to shut off the power to the building and how to evacuate safely. Keep a fire extinguisher handy and know how to use it. The NEC is a comprehensive set of standards for electrical installations. It is important to be familiar with the requirements of the NEC and to follow them carefully. By following the NEC and using safe electrical practices, you can help prevent electrical hazards and ensure the safety of yourself and others. Furthermore, when running Romex through insulated walls or ceilings, ensure that the cable is not subjected to excessive heat. Avoid packing insulation tightly around the cable, as this can cause it to overheat. Consider using a cable management system to organize and protect the cables. Cable trays, raceways, and other cable management products can help keep cables organized and prevent them from being damaged. Label all cables clearly to identify their purpose. This can be helpful when troubleshooting or making modifications to the system. Use different colors of cable to distinguish between different circuits. For example, use black for hot wires, white for neutral wires, and green for ground wires. This can help prevent wiring errors. When terminating cables at electrical panels, follow the manufacturer's instructions and the requirements of NEC Article 408. Ensure that the connections are made properly and securely. Torque the connections to the specified values to prevent loose connections. Use a torque wrench to ensure accurate torque values. Inspect the electrical system regularly for signs of wear and tear. Look for frayed insulation, loose connections, and other potential problems. Address any issues promptly to prevent electrical hazards. Keep the electrical panel clean and free of debris. Dust and dirt can accumulate and cause electrical problems. Consider the use of a whole house surge protector to protect the entire electrical system from voltage surges. A whole house surge protector can help prevent damage to appliances, electronics, and other electrical equipment. Install a lightning protection system to protect the building from lightning strikes. A lightning protection system can help prevent fire and other damage caused by lightning strikes. Obtain the necessary permits and inspections before installing any electrical equipment. This ensures that the installation is performed in accordance with applicable codes and safety standards. Consult with a qualified electrician for assistance with any electrical work. A qualified electrician can provide expert advice and ensure that the work is performed safely and correctly. Stay up to date on the latest electrical codes and standards. The electrical codes are constantly evolving, so it is important to stay informed of the latest changes. Attend electrical safety training courses to learn about safe electrical practices. These courses can help you prevent electrical hazards and ensure the safety of yourself and others. Use the right tools for the job. Using the wrong tools can damage electrical equipment and create safety hazards. Always use tools that are designed for the specific task. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment when working with electricity. This includes safety glasses, gloves, and other protective gear. Avoid working with electricity in wet or damp conditions. Water can conduct electricity and create a shock hazard. Never overload electrical circuits. Overloading a circuit can cause it to overheat and start a fire. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to perform the work. Electricity can be dangerous, so it is important to take precautions and avoid taking risks. By following these tips, you can help ensure the safety of yourself and others when working with electricity.